your testosterone by 300 nanograms per deciliter.
No, I don't. No. You ruined it, dude. I wanted to make sure everyone clicked on this, and just we're gonna give them an easy way out and just say the biggest way to just grow testosterone, either natural or not natural. So, but what's going on?
Stick a needle in your arm with test in it, and then just tell people for decades that you're natty. No, I'm just kidding. Oh my God. I don't know small children watch this.
It's funny. I was talking to one of the guys that work at the gym at EOS over here, EOS Fitness. People might say EOS Fitness. I say EOS. I don't know why. I don't know if it's acronymed or if it's supposed to be pronounced. I'm not sure. Either way. But one of the guys working there, we were just messing around, and he's a very nice guy. And he's actually one of the few people that will ask people around the gym, like, hey, do you need anything? Did you need anything? Like, and what's funny, being there for almost 2 years now, he's like the only person that's asked that question. Some of the people that work there, I've chatted with them, talked to them, made acquaintances with them. But it's like so interesting because it's like when you go to a chain gym, you don't hear that a lot, which is like really nice. So shout out to him for doing that. And so I was joking around when he asked that question. I was like, man, I just need. He was like, did you need anything, Antoine? And I'm like, oh, is there anything you can give me to make me just a little bit stronger? And or like put some weight on the bar. And he's like, you know what? I think some people in the locker room might be able to help you out on that. and then he made the joke because you made me think of it when you talked about like needles. He made the joke. He's like, man, it's crazy that people like have been shooting themselves up with vaccine this whole time. They're really cautious about COVID. But in reality, obviously, if you get the joke, he goes, man, the people at the gym really love like the COVID vaccine. I'm like, I could never think of that, but like, props to you for being this funny.
Yeah, you know what? I would say that's probably one of the number one things that like personal trainers in general can probably get better at is like prospecting, right? Like walk the floors. Like while you're there, if you're not training somebody actively, like walk the floors and be like, hey, I've seen you here for a while. Like you've got really good form with this. Like what's your goal? Strike up a conversation with people and then like see like maybe they have questions, maybe they have concerns, maybe they have been like waiting for somebody to come up to them that like has more knowledge and they're like, yeah, like I'd love to like be trained by you like for XYZ reason. I have this goal and I need help being accountable, like that kind of thing. So yeah, kudos to that guy for sure.
Well, you know what's sad about it? He's not even a personal trainer. He's just like he's like front desk / like maintenance. Okay. So like I feel like the personal trainers can actually learn from him. I think he's doing this as like a side job. I think he just graduated college, and he does it like 4 hours in the morning, and then he does like, I think he wants to be a teacher. He's doing like 4 hours of like teaching, and I think maybe he's doing it for like, I'm not sure, like maybe for extra accreditation or for learning. I'm not really sure. Unless he's like going back for his master's, I feel like maybe I gotta ask them that next time. Maybe that's what he's doing, and maybe he's like doing like some tutoring on the side, or like maybe just like helping out a teacher or something. I'm not sure how it works. So don't judge me on this quote because I have no idea how the education system works when it comes to being a teacher. So maybe he's just doing this on the side, but yeah, he's not a personal trainer.
Okay, gotcha.
But good point though. That's either way, good information, I think.
Yeah, I would say that like the decades at this point that I've been in the gym, I maybe can count on like one, maybe two hands the times that a trainer actually came up and like introduced themselves, you know? It's like, I mean, I'm not looking for a service, but like if they're not doing that to me, like that means that they might not be doing that to like local people, and that's missed opportunity for the client to be able to get like potentially an excellent experience with like learning physical culture, how to move, how to program, how to like maybe structure their meals, meal timing. Like there's so much to this industry that like so many people could benefit from, and to kind of like, I get people being shy too, like because I'm shy sometimes. I'm sure there'd be some days where I'd be like, I just want to train my clients, and like, I'll be friendly to people when they come in, work the front desk, do like the cleaning and stuff like that. But like, it's a social role. Like sometimes you have to get yourself out of your comfort zone and then like reach out to people. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and also too, like if you think about it, it would probably give like the gym more retention rate when it comes to like people staying at the gym, because a lot of the times like it's like the one time they offer personal training is like when you get the key card, and like they don't ever follow up, they don't do anything else besides that. And I think the only business they get is like when you sign up for a membership, then that person's going to get suckered in on buying a package, even though they probably should or could use it, right? I'm not saying they can't, but some people would buy it, and then like after that session's done, um, you know, they don't really get anything else out of it, and then they might change gyms. Maybe they weren't fully finished, or like, what if someone just didn't have the funds when they first started at the gym? Maybe like they wanted to just use the cardio equipment, but they don't know how to use the weights. So they start using the cardio equipment, but let's say Kyle from the training staff never went back up to that person. Like they had the conversation, and Kyle was like, well, they obviously said like they're doing cardio, and they just wanted to start having the funds, they just started a new job, or they're changing jobs, or they just moved here and they want to get their life in control and get some exercise. But if Kyle never followed up with that, and they don't have like a note system or like a way to go around that, then that person might not be coming back to that gym, or they might find personal training somewhere else, maybe at a separate studio when they do get the funds, and yada yada yada. So retention is probably that other piece. But not to get too off topic. Or we could keep going off topic. But speaking of the word and the idea around it, retention, right? I wanted to bring back to like what we have in store today for the overall message. What in the hell are you guys talking about with the semen retention stuff? Like this is like a good topic to bring up because we are talking about it today, but like everything on Instagram, once a day at least, I see one guy talking about it. Semen retention can increase gains in a gym. Semen retention can increase testosterone in your overall hormone levels. What the is this coming from? Like this, there's no like there's no monk like attitude to being strong and making gains. And I say that, and no disrespect to the religious, no idea on what the religion you have to go through to become a monk, but it reminds me of that theory where it's like you must remove distractions, remove consciousness to distractions, or that Seinfeld episode where they stopped having sex or whatever, and for some reason George was just so smart, and then on the opposite end of the spectrum, Elaine got really dumb because like supposedly the idea was females weren't as smart with the retention, and then the guys would be just geniuses because they can concentrate on so many other things besides sex. But where is this coming from, Roman? The semen retention. I had to bring it up, dude. I had to. It's funny, and it's popular in the community right now.
I think it's just like anything that there's probably some like literature that suggests that like if you fat, there's like a short-term decrease in like testosterone production. Makes sense. Like you just blew a load, right? Like that is why like that hormone exists, right? Obviously it does like a lot of different things, but like people think of it as like it is a sex hormone. So there's probably some sort of like wonky scientific backing, which is like not supported by the scientific community, but like an interesting finding, like, hey, when this happens, like this then like follows suit. And then people take that and they just run with that. So they say like, oh, you can keep your test up by like not fapping, you know, these like retention strategies and all this stuff. No fap November. So I'm pretty sure this has been debunked like many times. I believe Lane Norton has talked about it in the past year. I think Eric Helms has talked about it in the past year. I bet you Omar has talked about it, Omar Isaf, in the past year. So I mean, do whatever you want. Like if you want to do that as like a personal challenge, like I've done it for a month before where I'm like, all right, I'm not gonna, and like I'm a kind of once per day kind of guy, or maybe a couple times per day. Oh my goodness, I hope my pastor doesn't watch this. Sorry, Pastor Dave. Is it gonna increase your like natural production of testosterone? Like highly improbable. You know, fap as much as you want, as long as it's like within moderation, right? I think if you get above like 5 to 8 times a day, then you're probably looking at some chapped sex appendages.
You know, also too, as you're discussing that, hilarious by the way. You know, it brings you back to the point where there's actual like for like the Olympics, every time there's like a Winter Olympics, Summer Olympics, whatever the case may be, there's always like rumors and like stories that they just go at it like the whole time they're there, and like they have to distribute like, you know, condoms and protection for like athletes at the Olympics. So you're telling me these people that are in the like the biggest elite scale, you know, they aren't given a dang about that, and they are producing at like one of the highest like sports like measure that's like known to mankind, and you're telling me like that's gonna help them not perform. And like that's a funny thing about it, because it's like that example right there, it's like, hey, could it possibly like be something? Could it not? Like we don't know, but like don't think of it as too hard, and don't believe like half these people. Like I saw someone said like 3.5 years on one of the videos. I'm like, holy cow, like dude, what are you doing? Like I don't know what this is about anymore. If you 3.5 years, like did you make some money on this? Did you like was this a bet or something? But like it's just funny on how like these videos and people think they should share it, but I feel like half the time like they could be lying or couldn't be lying, and whatnot. So I don't know. I had to bring it up before we talked about the main message of the day.
Yeah, no, I'm in total agreement with you. I think if like Olympians are over there like banging like rabbits, then you're probably okay to go.
Yeah, but either way, I had to bring it up. I think my friends and I were talking about it. Some of my friends back home. But before we get on topic, one month away too before I'm back in Chicago. So Roman and I will be an hour apart. An hour in time difference, not distance apart.
Yeah, that'd be a fast flight.
Only if Elon Musk and the guy from Virgin Mobile, if they ever release that transportation when it comes to like space travel. Supposedly you can get to like across country within an hour and a half or something like that.
What? No way.
Yeah, they're trying to do it where it's like, if you look at like it's not Virgin Mobile, but the guy, I always forget his name, but the guy that owns Virgin Mobile, he has a company kind of like SpaceX that are trying to do something like that. Like, yeah, look it up after this or something.
I get the name of it. Richard Branson.
Yeah, Richard Branson.
Like Operation Blue or something like that, or maybe that's Jeff Bezos' company. I always forget. His space. Thank you.
So yeah, it looks like So I'll be back, and I'll be back to the Midwest style weather and whatnot. It's just weird. Today, talking off subject again. Today, Dunkin' Donuts released their pumpkin flavoring for their coffee, and of course, I went and got it. And it's so funny because I ran my 10 mile. I ran 10 miles today. I usually do it on Wednesdays, but with a lot of stuff going on last weekend and this week, I pushed it back a day. But I actually, before I started work and after my run, I noticed that we had one egg left, and we both wanted eggs for breakfast. So I go to the store and get eggs, and I'm like, well, crap, Dunkin' Donuts is right down the street. They just released a pumpkin coffee. I'm gonna go get it. So I did, but it feels weird to drink pumpkin coffee in like 105-degree weather.
You can't do it like iced?
No, I'm saying it feels weird to drink it like with it being 105 degrees. Like
Fair.
when you think of like pumpkin coffee, you think of like you're wearing pants and maybe like a windbreaker. You're not wearing like shorts and a t-shirt and just like sweating your ass off all day. It's actually been kind of bad though because the monsoon season's still going on and like the humidity is like really high for being in the desert. So like today, my shirt was like dripping sweat like after the run. Like I literally let it hang dry outside on the patio because I didn't want to put it in like the laundry basket. That's how wet the shirt was. It was disgusting.
Wow.
Yeah. But we could go into it about we'll probably title this how to increase testosterone. Yes, it's kind of clickbaity, but not really. It is important. But there are certain ways, and I feel like we haven't really discussed it because we definitely talked about like your injury, but we wanted to kind of talk about like how like we went over the blood work and how my testosterone levels were 499 or 498, and they raised to about 767, and that's a year time frame. And we kind of want to go over like some of the things, some of the ideas and like measures that one could go about, right? So it's not a 100% bulletproof plan, but it's like some ideas in some ways that like some of the things in I'm trying to think of the word, some of the ways and I'm blanking out. Yes, methods. Yes, methods on how to go ahead and increase your testosterone. One of the biggest hormone measures for building muscle, recovering, drive, motivation, probably mental state, sex drive. I mean, there's so much, and those are already big.
I think even bone health. I think you have to have a decent balance between estradiol, which is like I think it's like the male name for estrogen, and testosterone to have like adequate bone health as well. So if they're like out of balance, then I think it's an increased risk factor for like negative bone health. I believe.
Yeah, and also too like and how I was talking about like the mental state of things and how like it helps recover muscles, and also too low of like the hormone could cause a lot of damage. Like there's some what kind of cancer is it? I'm blanking on this too.
Prostate.
Yeah, it could cause prostate cancer. And on the other spectrum, it could there could be problems as well. Like so high testosterone can be problematic as well. And I'm blanking on everything.
Kidney issues, I think, is a big one. Kidney and liver.
Yeah. So so we want to talk about like how like being in balance is probably the best. And also like if you're on the lower end, like what could you do to kind of gain uptake within the levels, and how you can motivate yourself to get to that better, healthier level, and then obviously strive to hold on to that, right? Like I didn't strive to get to like the 767 level to like tank my diet, tank everything and just lose my whole levels just like that, and and it's not going to help me perform whatsoever in my daily life and working out. But Roman, did you want to kind of go ahead and start? Did you want me to kind of go over like some of the? I think maybe if you want to knock out like maybe what's the idea overall, and then I can maybe knock out like what I did within the year, and then we could kind of just like overall discuss. But if you want to go ahead, because I don't want to talk too much.
Yeah, I was just gonna bring up some like big picture things, and then if you kind of want to dive into how you implemented them, then
yeah,
that's what I was thinking. So one thing I'd say is for individuals that love this kind of lifestyle, and when I say love this kind of lifestyle, I mean like the bodybuilding lifestyle, meal prep, having like your nutrition on point, counting macros, IFYM, if it fits your macros, that kind of like mentality. If you find that like you're dragging, like really tired, you don't have a lot of drive, motivation to do certain things, sex drive is like in the toilet, you don't get excited about the same kind of things that you did previously, you might want to start like looking at your diet, for example. So one of the things that I've heard that some people can fall into the trap of is some of these like ultra low fat diets. So if you're not supplying yourself with adequate fat to be able to provide the cholesterol, and cholesterol is going to be the backbone for your hormonal production, then by its very nature, you're going to have trouble. Initially, I believe you're going to be digging into the stores that your liver offers, but I think that can only last for a few weeks. And at that point, if you're in an extended mini cut, for example, that's why you'll get, or an extended cut, not a mini cut, for example, that's why you'll have competitors that'll say that like they're tired all the time, their joints hurt, they have like very little drive to do certain things, so they have to be very regimented. And oftentimes that's because their testosterone production, whether like natural or enhanced, could potentially be in the tank. So it may behoove you to look at increasing like the overall fats in your diet. I'm not saying like jack up trans fats or anything. Like, look at healthy fats, monounsaturated. I'm a huge fan of olive oil. There's some decent literature that suggests that moderate consumption of olive oil on a regular basis can increase your HDL cholesterol reading or your high density lipoproteins, which is a positive factor for coronary artery disease, meaning it can take away a negative factor such as like high blood pressure, for example, which can be necessary for some individuals if they're seeking that kind of thing to be cleared, if they are borderline, like if they have borderline metabolic disease, that kind of thing. So I would say diet, super important. Another thing to consider is sleep. Your sleep needs to be on point to optimize your testosterone production. I'll let Antoine dive into that a little bit deeper, and like some of the strategies that he used to be able to achieve that. Overall body weight is another big one. That's a really big one to touch upon. So our body is really funny, kind of finicky, but also super resilient in many ways. We operate mostly in ranges of like quote unquote healthy, and there's some outliers where individuals could appear to be maybe like on a more like what you consider to be like overweight or like obese side of things, and their blood work can come back like totally normal. So there's some strange like genetic things that are going on that we're just starting to like parse out, learn, and understand. But in general, if your body weight and overall, typically it's your body fat percentage is high enough, then that can affect for men natural testosterone production. So it might make sense to look at like what you got going on and decide like, is this important to me? Is it important that like is this negatively affecting my life? If you feel like you've lost drive, you like are sleeping long hours but never feel rested, all these different things, it might be a conversation you want to have with the doctor. Like, hey, I've heard that if I get my weight under check, then it can help increase my natural testosterone production, and that'll help me like in the gym. That'll help me feel more motivated to attack my goals. What do you think about that? I would absolutely encourage you to start that conversation with your healthcare provider. In addition to that, what did I want to mention about weight? So we covered like the low end scale when you're like low body fat percentage, but also high body fat percentage. But there's one other nuanced point that I wanted to make in that regard, but it's escaping me right now. If it comes back, I'll share. But yeah, what do you think about that, Antoine? Do you want to talk about how you implemented some of those strategies and where you think had the most positive benefit to you?
Yeah. I'll definitely go inside of kind of what you were talking about, like within a little bit in that order, and then kind of some miscellaneous things like I'll throw in there. But as you guys know, the levels, this was within a year span, and like Roman and I suggest, try to get your blood work done like once a year at the minimum. Like you could get it done twice a year, 3 times a year, whatever you want. But I feel like for both of us, like once a year is good enough. Like I got mine this year, and I'm not gonna probably check it till maybe summertime next year. But with my blood work coming back, the testosterone was it was a normal range. 499 is a normal range, totally normal for those levels to be at that level. But it seemed like something where I could improve, and obviously my goal was to lose some weight after that blood work because I wanted to leaner. I wanted to be leaner. I wanted to move better, and also I didn't know by then, but later on the road, it's like, I agreed to train for the marathon. So the marathon kind of came after the fact that I was losing weight. So that could help too as well within trying to be a little bit less fat when it comes to running, in my opinion, because I feel like at a heavier body weight, it's just hard to run, especially on your joints and your bones. But I got the levels back with my blood work. And then I started realizing like, hey, we probably could get this boosted up a little bit higher. We could kind of get these levels a little bit better, blood work a little bit better. So I think I was like 215 or 220 at the time. And I got down to 193 at the lowest. Right now I'm running around 195, 196. So like I'm up like 2 or 3 pounds, but nothing too crazy. So like I was mentioning in my other podcast or the other episodes of podcast, I'm probably going to stay around this weight until after the marathon just for safekeeping. I don't want to put too much weight on. I don't really care for losing weight anymore. But back to the main point is last year in the end of July, or beginning of July, that's when I got my blood work done. I started to realize within life there was other things around me that Roman was mentioning that I needed to fix. My diet was kind of wonky, and obviously with trying to lose weight as your goal, I was able to cut a little bit of weight by just dieting throughout that whole year for I guess it was like 9 months, 10 months, but like consistently like I'm maintaining now, but. I didn't do like a heavy cut at all, but that was the one big thing that I started doing was obviously understanding, like Roman was saying, lower body fat, lower body weight will probably increase the testosterone. So that was like one of the factors I paid attention to. I was probably sitting around just under 20% body fat at 215, 220, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less. I can't tell you because I didn't get like specifically measured for that. And then now my body fat, I don't know, maybe 10 to 15%. I can't, it's so hard. It's like some days I look 10%, some days I look 15%, depending on what water I have around my like abdominal, which like I feel like that's where it goes like it goes in and out when it comes to like how it looks and feels. But I noticed that and I started dieting, and I think the biggest thing with the diet portion, with like obviously growing your hormones and trying to maintain or increase your hormone levels, is slow dieting. That's probably the best thing about it. I think at the most I would probably lose like maybe 2 pounds within a month, and like especially like where Roman and I are at. I always suggest like with it when it comes to like experience of lifting to probably just lose weight as slow as possible. A lot of people they always crash diet, and a lot of the times probably if you did crash diet, your hormone levels probably wouldn't have changed. If anything, you might have hurt them because the fact that you probably just malnutritioned yourself, and malnutrition is never good for anybody unless you're bodybuilding competing, and is it good for you? We don't know yet. For long term, I guess it could be bad with all the deaths, but I think that's kind of drug related. But body fat was the first thing. I was trying to lose as slow as possible with the weight I had. I think the most was, like I said, 2 pounds a month. That was the best thing because I was able to maintain as much muscle as I possibly could. I probably could have did a longer cut and made it a little bit slower and probably maintain a little bit more muscle. But that's my opinion when it comes to like losing the weight to kind of, boost that up. The second thing was a sleep schedule and sleeping, in totality. Roma is mentioning like sleep is very important, especially if you're getting good sleep, not bad sleep. I did cut out alcohol like quite a bit. I probably would only drink like maybe once a week, and it was on like Saturdays. So like that was this next step was cutting unnecessary like alcohol for no reason, especially closer to like bedtime. So most of the time throughout like that dieting phase, I would only drink like maybe once a weekend, and it would be most of the time Saturdays, and I would have a few depending on I wouldn't really count it when it comes to like the side of sleeping, but as we told you, it does interrupt with sleeping. So I try to cut that out, and I also try to maintain a better sleep schedule with my and I guess this would be the next part of it, but like the stress part of it, I did change jobs last year in September, and it allowed me to get a better sleep schedule going on. My last job, I did have multiple like shift changes, and sometimes I would work like different shifts in the morning. So I wasn't really on a maintained overall schedule when it comes to the morning side. And I got to the point where I was like, man, like if I could get this like catered to my liking, then it'll stress me out less and also help me recover better and get better sleep. So that was the next thing we were able to get. My wife and I were able to get on a schedule where we try to limit the TV at the end of the night. We try to get less light at the end of the night when it comes to electronics, and we try to get a sleep schedule involved, and that worked like perfectly. Like we got like consistently the same amount of hours slept. We went to bed around the same time, woke up around the same time. Also with this new job, since my wife starts a little bit later at 8:30 a.m. and we don't really sleep in that late. What's nice about the sleep schedule too is I was able to, or in the new job is I was able to stop waking up with an alarm, and I was able to create my body to wake up in around the same time, like 6:30 a.m., 7 a.m. So because like I didn't have a set schedule for work, I could sign in kind of whenever I want, and like my wife has to sign in at 8:30. It was easy to do that because it's like, hey, now my body's so adjusted where it's like it's gonna wake up no matter what from like 6 to 7 a.m. And I know I need to go to bed, 9:30 to 10:30 p.m. So I was able to do that, get a lot of rest and recovery. And then I started implementing ashwagandha too. And I don't know if that, I guess it could help with the sleep side of things, but it did really relieve like a little anxiety I was always having. And it could have been the job thing, but it just put me more in a relaxed state before bed. I take one like once in the morning, once at night. So the sleep side was really good. I was able to get my sleep schedule like pretty on point. Also, the next important thing was I was never like really ruining my sleep schedule. A lot of times people would be like 10 to 6, 10 6, 10 6 Monday through Friday, and then 2 a.m. to like 12 p.m., 2 a.m. to 12 p.m. So I never really did the jumping around when it came to like sleep. So I always like kept that same sleep schedule. And like I was alluding to earlier, the next part would probably talk about is like stress. Um, Obviously I realized like my last job was giving me a lot of stress, creating a lot of stress. There's points where I'd call Roman or text him and say I would be at the gym deadlifting almost 400 pounds, but I was never like feeling any of it. It would be I was like so stressed to the point where it was like I felt like nothing. There was no connection, and that needed to stop because there's one thing about me is like I'll never stop lifting. It doesn't matter if I'm powerlifting, bodybuilding, functional fitness, whatever the case may be, I will never stop like lifting. And because it was always like my medicine. It was like something I could just relax, never worry about anything. Don't need to worry about life. Like everything's cut out. But I was telling Roman that last year as well, and because of the job change and whatnot, I was able to get that connection back. and I wasn't as stressed as much with the daily job Monday through Friday, and it was giving me better lifts in the gym. And I guess the next thing and probably the last thing, there's probably more miscellaneous things that I'd probably leave it out. But like Roman was alluding to was the diet piece. Because I was cutting so slow, I didn't really remove a lot of food fast. So I was still trying to eat as much as possible. I would record about 80 to 90%, like all my food. So recording's a big one. We've always said it. I'm not going to get in details into it. But like Roman was saying is I didn't go on like a low fat diet. If anything, I'm pretty sure like because I started marathon training, I added more fats in, and obviously on run days I'll add a lot more carbs in. But back to the point is like I never really cut my fats low. I've always kept my carbs and fats pretty balanced. So I did that, and I like Roman was saying, like with the diet, it means like you feel so much better. Like my hormone levels felt so much better, and I just felt like always there instead of like that diet phase where it's like you feel like you're hungry all the time, you feel like you're tired all the time. I never really felt that. Obviously, there's some days you do feel like that, but I'm saying the majority of time. And yeah, and I think the last piece I guess I can mention is I think I mentioned on one of the episodes, but after like watching like a lot of RP Mike stuff and I've talked about like the hypertrophy side of my training because obviously I do power building and then with the marathon training, so I still concentrate on the big three and then I will do bodybuilding movements. But I think also too would help me like boost like the testosterone levels and whatnot was realizing that like I don't think I was ever training hard enough. Like obviously I was consistent for like what 10 plus years, but when I realized like the hypertrophy side where I was able to go a little bit harder, was able to get more concentration and was able to get more out of like the bicep curls, tricep push downs, like those movements, leg extensions, it helped me grow like so much in the gym, and I feel like that's what kept me so hard and strong. Like because if I don't think I did that, like I wouldn't have been able to farmer carry 405. I wouldn't be able to deadlift 405 for reps. Um, I wouldn't be able to bench like 275, squat 285. And I think that was probably the biggest thing too, because the fact that I was able to break down more muscle and keep the recovery rate like on point, and I haven't gotten injured within the past year. So besides like the like little ding up I had like with my bicep recently, I haven't really had a major issue with any of my like movements or anything when it comes to my body. So yeah, Roman, that was probably a lot, and I probably should have wrote it down to be a little bit more concise, but I know we're over time too. So anything else you wanted to add or talk about?
No, I know. I'll mention this off air, but one of my buddies who like kind of like he'll check in on the Gainz podcast. He follows on Instagram. He was like, Antoine is looking like effing jacked. So he was wicked like souped up for you. So
I appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like he never tells me that, but I think you know what you're talking about.
Yeah. You definitely seem like you've been on a roll recently, and like you're hitting your stride.
Yeah, I think that's I can't. I mean, I think RP Mike had something on that, man. It's like, and also too like I forgot the very strong guy that you showed me like a long time ago. He works on his garage. He's got the beard, and he's always like he's a big. What's his name?
What is that guy's name?
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, I know exactly.
He always has like the towel over his like crotch when he does like squats.
Yeah. I can't think of his name right now, but yeah.
Yeah, but he's like another proponent of it too. Like you realize like you're stopping at 4 sets of 10 on bicep curls when in reality like your biceps probably can handle like 4 sets of 10 plus.
Yeah.
And like ever since I started doing that, I felt like I've just been able to hold on to much more muscle. I've been able to feel stronger, look stronger, and it's like, man, I wish I like did stuff like this like 8 years ago. Like I wonder like what like human being, because you never know unless someone tells you or someone says it, but like you never know what you're capable of. And I think like even you, Roman, like I say this to you all the time, but like there's always more in us. Like there's nothing that's gonna stop us unless obviously if there's issues and injuries, whatnot. But like there's just so much more in life, and I just like think like if you don't take that 110% approach, like you're never gonna grow. Like if you're doing bicep curls 4 sets of 10 with 30 pounds and you've been doing that for 10 years, like is that really growing? Like you might have muscles, but like is it gonna push you to that next level? So that's all I gotta say. I'm stop talking.
Yeah, no, I'm like super stoked. I'm loving how like I've pretty much like I wouldn't say I've cut the cut, but I'm like maintaining it, and I'm gonna probably do that into September. But I'm really stoked.
Yeah, I mean, dude, the video you posted today, holy cow, dude. Because you've been telling me it, but see, it's hard to tell because we don't see each other in person anymore, and
Yeah.
it's not like we're sending like underwear photos to each other every week, but like to see that today, like even you, like you're on this like cut right now, and you're just crushing it, and I was like, damn, like I haven't seen Roman shirtless in a while, but like, damn, like I know that sounds kind of weird. People are like, what do you mean? Yeah, but you know how it is.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, man, let's keep at it. Everyone, keep accountable, and thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.